All right, so looks like we have our attendees here. So let's begin this session. Once again, good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to this session. I'm Rashmi from Great HR and today's moderator of this session. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of you today to our 30th Ask the Expert Parichay Webinar session. And as you all know, the topic for our today's session is New Age HR Leadership Skills to lead in a VUCA world. Now, before I dive into the topic, let's do a little housekeeping on how the session goes. So the session is divided into two parts. The first part will be the discussion with our expert for today, which will then be followed by the audience Q&A. Also, the session is currently being recorded and the same will be shared with all of you once we are done with this session. Now, without any further delay, let's start this session. So dear attendees, as you know, after March 2020, there has been a tremendous shift in how we function, both personally and professionally. In fact, the future is uncertain, but is it predictable? This is the question we have now, right? So trends keep changing, but somehow also it gives us some sort of an idea on what is the next big thing or where it will lead us. So as our discussion today focuses on the new age HR leadership skills that are required to lead in a VUCA world, let's first try and understand what VUCA is. Now, I'm sure you might be wondering, what is this VUCA, Rashmi? So it is a military termed management buzzword which describes the realities businesses face today. So VUCA actually stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It is safe to say that to operate successfully in today's fast-moving, complex climate, leaders must often feel that they have to run just to keep still. Now, new technology comes in and disrupts the markets overnight. Now, competitors emerge from unexpected corners. So, in a world that is ever evolving, how can we stay up with it? So in the next 1 hour, we are going to discuss this in length with our expert today, Mr. Sudeep Kumar Sen, the Vice President, GI Group India, and understand the different facets of VUCA world and the new age HR leadership skills required to lead in it in detail. Now, to tell you more about Mr. Sudeep, so Mr. Sudeep, as I already mentioned, is currently the Vice President of GI Group India. It's also been like with more than 2 decades of experience, Mr. Sudeep specializes in sales force planning, hiring, training, productivity matrix development, and implementation. He has also worked with Teamlease, Adico India, and HSBC. Well, his passion for scale and innovative thinking has contributed to the remarkable growth of several large business conglomerates. He is a well-known speaker and a frequent contributor to prominent HR journals. So once again, I welcome Mr. Sudeep. And Mr. Sudeep, we are excited to have you here in our session today.
Thank you. My pleasure. I look forward to it.
All right. So dear attendees, I think it's now time for us to head towards our first part of this session. So here I'll be asking few questions with our expert, Mr. Sudeep, today and seek answers, his expertise on our questions, which will then be followed by your questions. All right. So, sir, to start off with, I would like to know more about VUCA world. So my question is, as we know that VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, but what does it mean for leadership? Like, how would you like to break it down for a workplace?
Okay. That's a good way to start. And once again, thanks to the great team, and thanks to you, Rashmi, for putting up a fantastic presentation. We look forward for an engaging session and of course learning as well. Now, VUCA, as we hear, I mean, for a minute, if we keep the abbreviation that we are looking to from the industry aspects, right, and predominantly from the HR aspects, the three things that comes out. One is on a day-to-day basis, there's a lot of volatility that happens in business because of the, or rather what we have seen because of multiple reasons. Now, what we have seen is a couple of years of uncertainty that happened due to pandemic. But even if we take probably 3-4 years prior to pandemic, we had seen that there were certain industries which were struggling. For example, manufacturing. There has been a struggle. The sale had come down. The production, of course, had come down. We were seeing people being laid off. And we were also seeing in terms of the fact that how they were trying different models in order to stay afloat. Now, subsequent to that, the pandemic happened, right? So which is the worst can happen even when things are going bad, what can happen wrong? So this calls the adversity, which essentially is what we refer to. Now, this is specific to industry that we are talking about. The same thing happens within an organization as well. In an organization, let's say, for example, there is a change in leadership, as a result of which it has happened that it creates a gap, a havoc in terms of lack of directions or lack of, it's a fear which gets created within an individual's, what's going to happen next. Many a times we have seen that in an organization, some major decisions are taken and some of the decisions are not appreciated by a set of people because of the fact that there is a lack of communication, or probably there is a perception, or there could be a situation where people are not able to see through the benefits, right? So it creates a very unstable, volatile situation as well. So what I say is that in brief, there is nothing called VUCA, which is going to be a separate time or a separate event which will come. We all live, breathe this VUCA, I think every day at workplace or every month or in every year. The way is how do we deal with them? How predictive they could be, or what is the learning that we can and take it from there? What are the different ways and means by which we have combated them in the past, and how could they be related to what is happening today? How we can come together? What is how we can use technology in order to come out of these phases? What is that is required in terms of human capital involvement to take us out of these such problems or situations? And the most interesting thing is to be patient when such things happen, because solution to these situations would not come on immediate. It is probably not going to be something which is like we call lighting of a bulb, but these are constant processes, and there is going to be a sunrise, which will be a gentle one for sure, but you have to be patient and work towards that. But you have to ensure that every day there is a work towards that. So I think that's what is my view in terms of how do you deal with VUCA on a day-to-day basis, or what is exactly VUCA in a corporate world, or what is VUCA in terms of job.
Sure. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Sudeep. So with this, I'll go to my next question. Since we're already talking about how it affects the leadership and the business and all of that, now my question is, for continuous growth of the company as well as the employees, it is essential that we have a strategic workforce. So according to you, what are the drivers to implement this strategic workforce planning?
Okay. Strategic workforce. So I think there are two interesting words. We often miss out, or we say to everything we say is a strategy. So the first important thing is we need to understand that what exactly or what we define as a strategy. And then of course, workforce is a set of people working towards a common goal, keeping aside the differences and working towards the strength, the skills that they have. So when you say strategic workforce, I think the first important thing that comes is understanding the strategy. Now there are strategies. What are these strategies? Say, for example, every organization has an organization goal, which is to be met, which could be, of course, there would be certain short-term goals and there will be long-term goals as well. Now let's pick up a goal which is in terms of, let's say, certain element of revenue to be achieved. Now, what are the different means and ways you adopt in order to reach to the goal is also defined as a strategy. And at the same time, what would we do so that what has brought the business to where we are and probably further growth down the line or sustenance of the organization in the next 10 years, and the ways and means adoptions of whether it's technology, digitalization, or in people engagement, investment in people process, those can also be strategies. So action which gives investment in, first it's identifying what are we going to do, how much investment we are going to do, and then consistently investing them in terms of breaking it down into short-term and long-term things are typically what is called as strategies. One thing has to be very clear to underline or to demark what is a short-term strategy and what is a long-term strategy. What is a long-term strategy is something which is probably where you work on it every day. But again, as I said, you have to be patient because this is what is going to take time to actually give you the fruit. Short-term goals and the short-term strategies are where you need to constantly work towards them every day in order to move ahead in such a way that each day is better than the previous day and you are inching towards the goal. Now in this, so this is probably the foundation part. In this now comes, what are the investments? So investments have to be, first, we need to know people and their skill sets. We need to draw a circle of people. There are different distinctive type of people within an organization. We need to form group of people who have the similar skill sets. Once we know, we can look forward to align in such a way that we create further buckets of people with distinctive skill sets and assign tasks which will finally take us to achieve the goal. The next thing we need to do is how we can simplify their work. Assigning work is one, how we can simplify their work. Simplification of work can best be done with implementation, adoption of technology. So where do we stand in the technological adoption? What more we can do and how we can bring that flair in order to make their job simple or maybe more productive. That is what we need to look into. The third interesting thing which we need to do is, we have talked about people, we have talked about technology. Of course, technology means processes as well. We need to be doing something which is very important is reviews and governance. Because coming up with a plan, making people understand the plan, but going back and seeing what we decided and what we are doing, is it really helping us to move forward? Are people being given the task, is it really happening? Which is called as the reviews and the governance. So these are the three things that is very important there. Another thing which happens is, do you have anything which creates an unparalleled advantage? Mostly when we hear strategy is something like, you come out of a thought which nobody has been able to think, and you are the only one. It's like eureka moment. Nobody is able to think, and it's an unparalleled advantage till somebody else copies it or whatever. That is also an interesting aspect from the strategic point of view. That's coming up with something which is exceptionally important for your organization. It's like an innovation. So for that, you need to also have thinking minds who would come up with an innovative idea, would come up with different means to do that. This team, you can't put it into regular work. This is a team which will work for you can have different councils of innovations and etc. And this is the team which will help your organization to come out with something which will help the sustenance and will make your company survive for probably the next 15, 20 years. This is how the strategic aspects of workforce planning and adoption happens.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudeep, for sharing valuable insights. I'm sure each of the points that you have mentioned here will definitely benefit our attendees a lot.
Sure.
So on this note, I'm moving on to the next question. So here, right now, we just talked about the strategies and the various aspects, how it affects them. So now my question to you is about the challenges of it. So the question is, what are the challenges in implementing a strategic workforce planning?
Okay. I think the first challenge that happens is communication. It is not about putting it to people. It is about communication. Now, when I say communication, it has got three parts. One is which you communicate to people about the strategy. The next thing is trying to understand if people have understood it. The third is, are people married to it? Because many times it is an announcement and not a communication. A communication means it has a clarity, it has an willingness to accept questions from the other side and able to clarify them, which means that it is not a diktat, but it is also a discussion and then coming out of it. So before you roll out a strategic communication, it is important that people have been talked about, people have been discussed about, people's views have been taken, and then you kind of do the communication. Then the next part is to see that what is communicated, adopted, accepted is running fine, which again brings back to the same thing that you need to have distinctive ways of doing reviews and putting a governance system into place, which enables you to understand the progress, whether it's a delta progress as expected or a progress on a week-to-week basis, month-on-month basis. It's very simple. We need to analyze where we're supposed to be and where we are. If we are ahead, fantastic. If we are lacking behind, then we need to regroup and say that this is the biggest challenge that people face in organizations. The first rollout of communication and etc. happens. Ambiguity will still be there. And then thereupon, I think we find ways and means of just trying to find why it is not happening, right? And why it is not happening, I think the seed actually gets put into the soil if it is not a proper communication, if there's a lack of clarity, if there's a lack of conviction in the person communicating and the person or a set of people listening to us. The cascading effect of that challenge is what we start seeing in performance, which is the goal for which all the strategies have been drawn. That is one. Third is, whenever you roll out a strategy or you kind of come out with a process or whatsoever, even though you have communicated it well and you are doing a superb governance of that, it will come out that there will be certain set of people in an organization who will probably not be able to carry it forward. And we need to keep a track of that on a time-to-time basis. There could be two sets of people. One who need training, retraining, skilling enhancement, reskilling in order to be there. And there will be some people who probably will not be able to come up with the pace. And that's the time when you need to look for alternatives. That's the best time for you need to plan your alternatives, of course, much ahead of it, but that's the signal point that I need to look for alternatives, because when that situation happens, it's a mix of attitude as well as aptitude. And if there is a gap in both, if you try to fix that and you're trying to achieve your goals also, you will ultimately slow down. And I think we can't slow down. So these are the things that are. The last part I sum it up as a decision making. That is very important. A lot of people don't do, they drag, they give a long rope, expect many things to automatically fall upon. But if I have done a communication clearly and if I'm helped people to understand with the proper governance, and yet I'm seeing that it's not up to the mark, I think then I need to look forward for different ways, alternatives.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Sudeep. So thank you so much. Also, you brought up a couple of things here, like the communication and the gap that has been building because of this, where it leads to, and all of that. So this actually leads to my next question, which is all about employee experience and employee engagement. So my question is, we have been hearing the term employee experience more often after the pandemic, right? So according to you, how has the employee experience changed over the years? Also, how essential employee engagement has become for an organization's growth?
See, two things have happened. One is we have also exaggerated this employee engagement and experience a little more, because I think, and it has happened during pandemic times, that we started learning from the activities which are happening in the market, right? Adoption, online adoption. Like for example, I think in the initial few weeks when the complete lockdown happened, and I'm trying to take you people to probably May 2021, right? Where we started seeing some of the organizations coming at different means and ways of employee engagement. Exactly 3 weeks after that, you see many companies are doing those. And I think social media like a LinkedIn and even Facebook was the biggest testimony of that, that things have started. So what I'm trying to reflect here is that it has got better. If the employee experience over a period has gone better, like for example, when you look from the new joinee perspective, before pandemic, it used to be very limited times. We have seen people putting that this is the laptop I have got, and this is the writing pad I have got, this is the new pen, and putting up a photo of that I have joined this company and I'm so happy that I have got them. But then essentially what happened is during pandemic, not many people started putting them. And what was the message is that, see, the message was, even though I'm joined and I'm doing a work from home, see the efficiency of my company, that they have made all these things reach me on the day of the joining or probably one day before the joining. So see, I have a great value for them. So what was put across is the value of an employee. So experience is just not about how well I have been explained processes or how well I have been given the induction, how well I have been made to understand the distinctive people. It is also about the value which an employee feels, wherein an organization exhibits certain actions on a right time or probably in a perfect process. This typically is an example of employee experience which I spoke about. Engagement, if you see, now over a period of time, it has changed, because what has happened here is that I think every employee who is joining, previously the mindset was that probably this employee experience and probably highlighting it is for a certain set of people beyond a particular designation, or above that it is something like that. I'm probably the lowest common denominator in the organization. Somebody has come and given me a handbook to write about me, submit my bank account details and etc. is good enough for me. But what has happened is technology has brought everybody into a common platform. Today, people are there in multiple platforms, be it social media, and within social media, the professional ones, and of course the social connect points and etc. So everybody expects that experience, the level of experience, the bar of an experience of an employee has gone up over the years, thanks to two things. Social media has played a very big role. And I think in pandemic, we have seen so many examples. Every good example that I see or we see in happening with somebody else in the market, we see that how can that also happen to me, right? Good things, we always like good things to happen to us. So that's the viral effect. Coming to employee engagement. See, there are three things in this. One is employee engagement by means of process, which is common for everyone. Now you have 100 people joining your organization in a particular month, or you have 10 people joining in an organization in a particular month. You have to have set processes. If you are explaining people in terms of the HR policies, If you are doing an induction with them with the cross-functional teams, you need to ensure that it happens with all of them. You can have engagement of different level of people with them, but then you need to have this thing for all of them. This is the process piece. The second piece is, which is after every employee has joined, they need to be talked after 3 months about their experience. You have inducted them, they have spent 90 days, reach out to them and understand that how has been your journey in 90 days. Make note of points where there is a major aberration. Go back to your manual and see what is being given as an induction, what they have felt on the ground, at the office. Is there a way which we can improve on things, make some small changes to make the experience better or whatsoever? This is what it is, which is process, checkpoint, if required, some element of reengineering. The third most interesting thing is experiences during incidences. Somebody had an accident of somebody in the family and there is an insurance policy. Fine, I have inducted the employee on insurance policy and he should be knowing all these things. He should be knowing where to, where is the car, where it is the process. But many a times at that moment, those things don't work out with many. And that's when there has to be a window for that employee to call and say, excuse me, can you quickly brief me what all I need to do? And that's where there has to be people who to help him. This is the biggest part of employee engagement. Employee engagement is not tapping everybody every day and saying, are you happy? Are you fine? I hope you are not planning to leave. That's not engagement. Engagement's part is when I really need an engagement. Am I getting that engagement? I hear upon a lot of people who have probably they are unwell and their spouse is not aware that what to do. And then I think the common thing what the spouse does is whoever they know in the organization of their whether it's wife, husband, or whatever, to reach out and get some basic clarity of what would be the next 2-3 steps to do in a medical emergency per se. And I have enough examples where the responses are exceptionally poor and people don't even want to talk. So where will the engagement come from? It will come from practices. It will come from situations. How will they have been handled? How well it has been communicated? How much the employee has felt that there is a sense of belongingness, the connect point. That's very important. I think that's actually the true aspect of employee engagement.
Oh, very true, Mr. Sudeep. Thanks for.
And I think the other part is people, when they succeed, a lot of people come and try to take part in that success story. We need to also we need to understand, as I think over the years we have seen, that the most dejected employee is where he's seeing that he's working hard, but he's not getting the result. Right? What he wants is somebody who comes and says, dude, you are on the right track. Let's sit and understand from you what probably is the point where you think you missed it. It can be any work for that matter. Now, what he's going to talk for the first 15 minutes, just listen to it. The 16th minute onwards or 21st minute onwards is going to be much light. So they don't want at that point of time somebody to come and show, here is where you did wrong. No, he's done wrong. He's not going to get success what he wanted or he deserved. But for some reason, it has not worked fine. So we need to find, this is the psychological part of it. We need to sit with that person, understand, give him an ear. It's called, right? A lot of problems you can solve by just giving an ear. Listen to it calmly and then try to help things out. This is one of the most interesting aspects. Again, another point is also there. If you see repeatedly, the engagement part is one way. Organization is doing their efforts to do an engagement, but the other party, see, it's not that always organization is to be blamed. Many times it happens that the organization has done every element of communication and have made to keep an engagement. But that engagement also deserves respect from the other side. So I can't be expecting that the organization will only be engaging with me in multiple ways, but I will not be interested to reskill myself or to take my productivity up. Then one day organization will of course not be able to take it to that level, or, or the keenness will dry down. Hence it is two-way traffic. It has to be both way.
Sure. Very valid points that you have brought it up here, Mr. Sudeep. So this actually leads to my next question, which is like slightly beyond the employee experience and the engagement. So the next question is, in your opinion, what is the new age design and structure for an organization?
Okay. The first thing is, I think it's like a triangle. People is the most important thing. The second one is in terms of what we call as technology, because that's an ever-ending thing, and I think that's something which will take us which will keep an organization into the scalable mode. It will make the organization see growth and etc. And the third interesting thing which has come out is, we have seen a lot of organizations today building separate teams and coming up with different processes is the wellness. The wellness, because how happy is your employee today is not a function about how much he is working hard or is working smart. It is also a function of how healthy is he, or how healthy lifestyle he is following. Because please understand that if you have a critical resource working on critical roles, or a set or a group working on critical projects, and suddenly they are not in the right space as far as their health is concerned, it can create a VUCA for your organization, just because wellness has never been looked into as one of the interesting aspects or important aspects. So our new age organizations should be having these three things. Investment in terms of human capital, the first point. What does investment in terms of human capital mean? It means building up three distinctive layers of work. One, you have a leadership team. You need to look forward that how you can keep enhancing the leadership team's skills, how you can ensure that the leadership skills is kept up, the leadership team is kept away from the everyday mundane regular work, and they are able to, you are giving time for them to think. That is very important. You need to see that your mid-layer management people are also getting enough grooming sessions, exposure, and learning whether they succeed or fail in order to move up the ladder. And the third part is that you need to constantly be looking for people who would now be ready, who would be joining your organization, irrespective of whatever level, and would be getting into the teams, which is the mid-management layer or the top management layer. The funnel building, the pipeline building, the talent building has to be there. I mean, we learn this from organizations, the difference between great organizations and some of the organizations who could have been great. The thin line difference is that they did not just lived on that day. They found time to think what I should do so that I have a better life even 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line as well. So investment in terms of human capital, the three different layers that we need to do, I explained. The next one is technology, which is something which we need to constantly think. What adoption we have done probably is helping us to sail through today. But with the new inventions coming in, how do I ensure that the higher element of technological adoptions? how technology can come and help us in some of the processes which I am doing today, probably manual, brings a lot of stress to our employees, could be automated, and what more can be done. How can I add variety into my products or even services with higher adoption of technology? This is the second one. And third one is, which is called as wellness. Now, which is of course a mix of employees' health and high factors, also engaging people in order to come out and from the regular work and talk about what has been their challenges. See, the ability to make an employee speak about challenges which he or she is facing, apart from the professional environment, is also a part of wellness program wherein you make the employee feel better, being heard, and probably look for solutions as well. See, we have seen a lot of organization coming up with mandatory sessions of breakout. Some say we do it in the morning, some do it in the evening, some do it between work. They ensure that an employee spends X element of work time in a yoga room or probably in a gym, or maybe they play some games. And many a times it is beyond employees. They say that we would like to meet your family. And there are companies who have even written letters to the spouse, thanking for indirect contribution that they have made towards the company. In order, they have managed many things on their own so that the spouse is actually able to contribute to the goal of the organization. So I think the wellness is just not about mental wellness. It is about building an ecosystem where everybody feels mentally, psychologically good, involved, and most important, somebody I can fall back when I'm not good. That's the third interesting thing.
Sure. So, Mr. Sudeep, I think our conversation is taking a really interesting direction. So,
Thank you.
when you talk about the wellness of the employees, next question that comes to my mind is, how about the skill set of the employees? Like, as in, reskilling and upskilling are amongst the top priorities for HR leaders, right? So, what strategies can an HR adopt for a sustainable learning framework?
Sustainable learning framework. Now, again, complex words. Most of the time, these complex words create another VUCA in understanding and adoption, right? So I think the most important thing is to simplify things and understand. Now, when you say learning framework, who are you looking it for? If you say I'm looking it for my employees, I would say you need to then create bucket of employees depending on the work they do, the strengths they have, and the skills, basic skills. Then you come up with the next layer. So the first thing is knowing your own employees. Do we really know our employees? Have we actually done the bucketing? If we say yes, we have done. If not, then that's the first thing. We need to bucket. Now, somebody may ask a question that how do I bucket depending on experience, depending on functional expertise, depending on probably a few other things. Yes, I think it can be done in terms of functional knowledge and the expertise, the experience they bring onto the table. Fantastic. The next thing is we need to also be clear where we want them to be. And it has to be a realistic one. At the same time, we also need to see that if we are putting a realistic goal, what are the ingredients that will help them? Will it be some courses, some programs, or whatsoever? Then comes out the next stage, wherein you say that I've created a framework now. The third one is where you constantly monitor them and look at how well are they progressing. Now, they may be progressing. There could be somebody who is absolutely fine and doing a fantastic job, but you need to see that what are the other skills that can be developed in this person so that this person, once stays with the organization, finds the work really interesting and is ready to get to the next level, which could be within the same vertical or probably into a different vertical also, or a different function also. This is the most important framework that is required from the learning solutions perspective. Assessment is very important. Assessing employees' strength, understanding what is required, where we want them to be, what is that we have done for them to move to the next level. Now, this could be adoption of different tools of learning, adoption of different gamified versions of learning, could be different courses, exposures to high-end programs or whatsoever, which are basically I would say tools or adoption of different programs and etc. But the third thing which is important is that, are we looking everybody through the same lens? That's not going to work, because there will be some people who will be ready to take up the next role in the same department. There'll be some which will be ready to take the next role in another department. And there will be some who will be just looking to do better in what they are doing. Many times even we make that mistake. We feel that this guy is probably the best of the lot. So we already have a pre-assumed position and we say, why don't you go there? But then we realize at a later point of time when he says, thank you, I'm thinking to move out, is because we made the mistake. Then the stage came when we learned that we have made the mistake and we were not ready to rectify it. We were not ready to sit and have a talk and say, you, me, both made a mistake. We are willing to invest in such a way that what we see is a mistake being done, we can correct, because we feel you have the talent and the skill. But you need time. We are ready to give you time. We want you to do these 5-6 things, and I'm sure both of us can work together and make you succeed now. I think that's where most of the things fall apart. So strategic learning platform, if you talk about, I don't think we should just think of some tools. Means most of the problem happens is we just correlate it to adoption of some tools, high-end tools and etc. No, tools and etc. is basically going to help us to execute the thought that we have it in mind. But first we need to again understand what they are good at, what we want them to be good at further, how they are progressing, and what more they can do. That's the framework I call.
Sure, Mr. Sudeep. So we'll continue the conversation. In the meantime, dear attendees, if you have any questions, you can start putting them across in the Q&A option of the Zoom control panel. We will be more than happy to take it up, and we'll definitely try and get the answer for all your questions from our expert today, Mr. Sudeep. All right, so please don't wait anymore. Start putting across your questions in the Q&A option. All right. Mr. Sudeep, while we wait for audience question, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
So far we have discussed how the landscape of the workplace has evolved over the recent years and what organizations need to do in terms of organization structure and values and employee engagement to sustain and thrive in this new world. However, with this, HR analytics has never been more relevant before. So first, please help us understand what HR analytics is.
HR analytics is nothing but certain numbers which HR probably, I would say 8-10 years back, thought that most of the HR people had come from humanitarian background. And they thought that, I think the administrative work is the only work HR can do. So how do you quantify administrative work? The best that was coming out was number of people interviewed, number of people joined, number of people inducted, number of people aligned for training. That's it. or maybe few more data. But there has been a huge revolution. How did it happen is that questions started getting raised to the HR people. What is cost of hiring? What is cost of rehiring? How much have you contributed as a department to the organization goal? How well do you understand the business goals? And of course, that opened up the thought that it is no more a corner room department. It is a frontline unit today. It is a frontline unit which is contributing to scaling up of an organization, growth of an organization. They are the custodians of the human capital of an organization and also responsible in different ways in terms of the productivity of the employee, retention of the employee, and what is called as scalability of business. So with this transformation, it happened that the analytics changed, the measurements, the units of measurement or the numerics which is going to come and has come and playing a big role in terms of has changed. So today, it is important that every HR person is aware of these analytics, right? It starts from the fact, a glance at our business goals, that where are we, where we want to, which is the overall goal. Then they need to break it into what part of the overall goal are they going to contribute to. Like, say, for example, there is an appraisal system that has been run in an organization. Past 3 years, appraisal system has led to probably a loss of 15% employees. And if somebody says that 15% employees at what is the cost of this, I should be able to come out with a median and say it was for X lakhs. Now, when we are replacing this X lakhs with probably a new set of people and the cost of this 15% people goes to Y, wherein Y is very high from X, which means the cost of the organization in terms of the human capital cost has gone up, right? Compared to the previous set of people. Then somebody may raise a question, what has been your retention data? How well have you been able to retain people in the year between last year and this year? Which is also an interesting figure, because we should be able to say in a year, last year we lost 25 people, in this year we have lost 40 people, then that's not working fine. But last year we lost 25 people, this year we have got probably 30 resignations, but we have only lost 20 people. The rest we have been able to retain. Now, if you look into it, the cost of those 10 people, the rehire cost of those 10 people is controlled by HR. This is one pure analytics. How much I have saved for the organization. What we have saved is definitely a contribution to the overall goal. The next piece is when they work business, when they work incentive plans and different plans which promotes positivity and high-end performance by the employees. So if business comes and gives them certain figures that I want an aggressive aggressive incentive policy, HR also needs to look into it, that what's the funnel left, how these policies can happen. There has to be simulation of and checked that what would be the payout. Will it be uniform? Will it be exorbitantly high? Whether it will be in line with the target, whether it will be in line with the revenue that has got generated. All these things are very important. The next important thing which is there is, how do I let the world know about the kind of people that we are talking about, which is advertising, which is also about letting, it can be in social media or any media for that matter. What is the cost of doing that? How has the responses been taken? How it has impacted the brand of our company? What we can do in order to enhance the brand of our company? How does word of mouth, how does employee experience can be canvassed and taken to the market so that more and more people are interested about it. We hear a lot about diversity hiring. So what is that we are doing? We have a divergent workforce. I mean, a workforce which is probably 30 to 35%. It's a good mix, I would say. Are you taking it to the market? Are you letting the world know about it? All these are very important things, which is how. Now, a lot of times it happens. The company I work for, we kind of get together and like, how much HR is interested to know from marketing that how many hits we are getting into our website, or probably anything that we are talking and saying this is a promotional activity. If you ask why it is important, is because HR should know that what is the role they are playing in terms of promoting the organization, letting the world know about their organization. So I think this is where analytics have become extremely important, because unless you know analytics, you will not be able to, as an organization, contribute to the business goal. First of all, understand the business goal, and the next is contributing towards the business goal.
Sure. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Sudeep. So I think we already have our participants eager to waiting to hear from you.
Sure.
So the first question is from one of our attendees. So the question is, what are the ways to effectively manage employee productivity in small companies where timesheet submissions are not regular?
Where timesheet submissions are not regular?
Yes.
See, I see it is a very specific, process-specific question. What have we done? So there are two things. One, have we done enough communication and two-way communication? Why it is important and why it is that people have to be disciplined about it. If we have made enough efforts and we still see that there is a disciplinary problem, it can be sorted with bringing up some policies where if you don't submit it, then there is a penalty. If not a penalty per se, I've known organizations where they don't penalize in terms of money, but they put out the names of people who have submitted on time, because you can't create a policy of hall of shame and etc. But then you put it as a hall of fame, people who have been extremely disciplined. And at the end of the day, you come out ways and means to incentivize them. Now here, incentive does not mean paying in rupees per se. It also means create a canvas of high disciplined people been shown to many people. It becomes viral and you see more people getting disciplined. You have tried everything and still it's not working out. As I said, look for alternates.
Absolutely. So I
think it's fine.
Yes. So I think that answers the question. So I'll move to the next question, Mr. Sudeep. I think this is one of the most talked topic these days. So the question is all about moonlighting. So one of our attendees would like to know your opinion on moonlighting, and is it gained popularity because of the corona or work from home scenario?
So it's a very controversial topic, and I see it that it's again a two-way problem. Employees have adopted to it, and they did it because was there a clarity in the policies, and then still they did it? It's absolutely wrong if they have done it. Did it gain popularity by doing small element of work and then it became an addiction? Or is it that many people within the organization also made it a so-called phantom practice, which is appreciated at the beginning, but then it becomes a problem at a later stage. So it has happened in, there are many examples. On a phase two, it should not happen, because what you are learning Most interestingly, what you are learning is just not everybody's property. Of course, organization and the person self. When you are engaged with an organization, the organization is making you learn, do things, at the same time is taking care of. There is no engage, there cannot be a parallel engagement like that at any point of time, two element of engagement employment. Not second thought about it's wrong, absolutely wrong. From the employee perspective, it is something like this, that till what extent? Lot of, like say for example, you hear the word consulting. Now, somebody works in a software company and probably goes to some university, which is private, to teach what he kind of knows. There's no conflict of interest here. There's no conflict of interest. So I think we need to relook into these policies of conflict of interest. We need to relook, we need to redesign, and then again, we need to recommunicate what is conflict of interest, give examples of what they cannot, and probably leave them with a space that what they can. Because I believe that if you try to probably keep it too tight and say, and try to make it a very fast and rule, it's also not going to work. So it has to be very clear that what is conflict of interest and what is probably the space where they can do, but it should not be that they are engaging in the same way, same profession, same business, same work with somebody else. That's how it is.
Sure. I think that definitely answers the question. Thank you so much. So the
We
next
are at
question,
5, right? Okay, yeah.
I'll just take up one last
Sure,
question.
sure.
Yeah. So one of our attendees would like to know, what are the best proven ways to retain an employee? Do you vouch for retention agreement?
Vouch for retention agreement.
Right.
Well, why has it reached to that level that there is an attrition? I think is the first important thing. We need to ponder on, we need to think ways and means why it has happened. And I'm saying it can be both ways. If we realize that, well, we have made an effort, the first question is, are we convinced about we have made an effort? If we have made an effort, still the employee wants to go, we need to analyze, are we both the parties looking at co-creating, coming together? Is there a trust which is there? And if it is there, then absolutely fine. We can hold back that employee. We need to also analyze what in return he is expecting. Is it a transactional thing only, or is it something which is either side will not be able to meet in due course of time? We need to keep that also in mind. If we feel that there is a position that he is asking about and we probably will not be able to give him in due course of time, and there is no alternate positions also which we can create or hold that employee for, let's not try to hold him for the sake of holding. Let him fly. But if we feel that there could be ways and means by which we can probably do something, but it will take at least a quarter, at least 4 months, 2 months, we should communicate that yes, we can, but we will need some time for you to do that or get there. Till that time, you need to cooperate with us, trust us, and do what you are doing. This also needs to be communicated. So again, my answer is 3 parts. Why it came to this point is what needs to be analyzed. Now, after analysis, we learn that this happened because of 2, 3, 4 things. We need to see that those things are not repeated and what we can do earlier. And the last point is to analyze what he wants and what we want. What is it in exchange? How important is most important, can I withstand? Can I meet his expectations? Can I meet his exceeded expectations? Is he the person who can really contribute to my organization? Is this a one-sided bargain, or is it a two-way situations? And depending on that, we need to take the call.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Sudeep. I think you have brought up very valid points.
Yeah.
It's actually like a food for a thought, I have to say now, because we all talk about retaining the employees and all of that, but none of us think that why it reached to that point. Do I really need to think about this?
Again, from the beginning, engagement. Engagement is ability to come and stand by him when he needs.
True.
Engage and keep giving an ear to the problems, and especially when he has failed. If these two things we are doing, wellness, appreciation in multiple ways, creating environment of learning, reskilling, skilling, I don't think we will have that attrition discussion for so long.
Correct.
And after doing all this, if somebody wants to still go, or you want somebody to go because of various aptitude and attitude problems, that's it. And the last point, look for talent, keep looking for talent, good talent, which will fit into your hierarchical structure of organization building for not only today, for future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudeep.
It was nice talking to you, and fantastic questions. I'm sure participants would have also loved this question. So thanks once again, and look forward to be part of many such initiatives and programs. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Mr. Sudeep. And also, I think, dear attendees, with this, we have reached end of this session. If any of your questions are pending, please don't be disappointed. You can always reach back to us on our community platform, that is Great Right. You can also see the link for it here. And also, you can just write back to us your questions. We will respond to you there as well. And once again, I would like to thank Mr. Sudeep for this session. And I'm sure the information here Mr. Sudeep has shared on our today's topic, that is new age HR leadership skills, has definitely benefited all of us and has given some valuable insights. And also thank you to all the attendees as well who has joined us today and made this a huge success. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to write back to us on the given mail ID that you can see on the screen. That is rakigautam@greative.com. I repeat, rakigautam@greative.com, and we will surely get back to you there. All right. So we will see you in the next session again with another interesting topic. Till then, have a great time. Stay safe. Thank you.